Welcome to today's video. Hollywood's golden age wasn't just famous for its classic films, but also for the legendary stars who dared to break societal rules, especially when it came to love. In this video, we'll explore the fascinating stories of 10 iconic actresses who challenged the norms of their time by seeking love with younger men. From bold marriages to complex romantic relationships, join me as we dive into the lives of these stars who lived and loved on their own terms, despite society's criticism and expectations. So what do you think about these golden age actresses who broke societal boundaries not just in their careers, but also in their relationships? Do you think they were pioneers in expressing freedom and taking control of their own lives? And looking at today's stars, do you believe they are continuing to do the same? Love stories that transcend age and gender barriers are becoming increasingly common, especially as people no longer feel the need to hide their true feelings. If you think that there are still standout stars today who are breaking these rules, leave a 1 in the comments. If you feel this is still a sensitive issue and hasn't been widely explored, comment with a 0. We would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this shift in the entertainment industry. Keep watching the video and don't forget to hit subscribe to support us and stay updated on the most fascinating stories. Gloria Swanson, one of Hollywood's most powerful stars during the silent film era, was not only a standout on screen, but also made the world take notice with how she built both her career and personal life. With a record-breaking salary and creative control over her films, Swanson became a symbol of independence and power in the film industry. She didn't just dominate her career, she also took charge of her personal life. Swanson consistently chose younger partners, a bold choice that defied societal norms. Her most notable relationship was with William Dufty, a writer and journalist who was 14 years her junior. In 1945, at the age of 46, Swanson began her relationship with Dufty, and despite the significant age gap, she made no attempt to hide it. On the contrary, she openly embraced the relationship, challenging societal perceptions about older women. At a time when women over 40 were often expected to fade from the spotlight and out of the public's attention, Swanson not only continued to pursue high-profile projects, but also made an impressive comeback. The pinnacle of her career came when she was nominated for an Oscar for her role in Sunset Boulevard at the age of 50, a clear testament to her resilience and vibrant vitality. Swanson asserted that while men of her own age might have wanted her to shrink herself to soothe their egos, she chose younger partners, individuals who were not bound by outdated notions of how a successful woman should behave. What was particularly special about Swanson and Dufty's relationship was that it was not only romantic, but also an intellectual and creative partnership. Dufty was not just a life companion, he co-wrote Swanson's famous autobiography and supported her in her advocacy for healthy eating, one of her pioneering initiatives. This lifelong relationship stood as a testament to the love and collaboration Swanson found with a younger partner. In her 1980 autobiography, Swanson shared that she had always been drawn to younger men because they didn't carry the burdens of outdated notions about women's success and behavior. She emphasized that rather than being constrained by societal rules, she chose younger partners because they respected and celebrated her achievements instead of opposing them. Swanson's co-star and close friend Colleen Moore also revealed that Swanson deliberately chose older partners in the early years of her career to avoid the power imbalance she faced in the film industry. Swanson wanted to define relationships on her own terms, free from the influence of older men. Joan Crawford, one of Hollywood's biggest icons, was always known for her image as a loving mother, a figure associated with the ideal of a model woman. However, beyond the stage lights and emotional performances, Crawford had a lesser-known side, her choice to pursue relationships with younger men, revealing an entirely different aspect of her character compared to her public image. Throughout her career, Crawford consistently chose partners 10 to 20 years younger than her, creating a pattern that film historian Janine Bassinger described as a deliberate reclaiming of power after years of being controlled by the studios. Crawford's most notable relationship was with Alfred Steele, the CEO of Pepsi, whom she married in 1955 when she was 49 and Steele was just 38. Although the age difference was only 11 years during the 1950s, especially when the woman was the older partner, it sparked plenty of rumors in Hollywood. Crawford's relationship with Alfred Steele was not just a romantic choice, but also a savvy business move as it paved the way for her to become a Pepsi ambassador after her film career began to decline. This partnership not only reflected her personal desires, but also served as a strategic decision to restore her influence within the entertainment industry. At the same time, this allowed her to control her image in a way that was not constrained by Hollywood standards. Interestingly, Crawford was not shy about choosing younger partners, which stood in stark contrast to the public image Hollywood tried to craft for her as the perfect nurturing mother. In 2015, letters between Crawford and director George Cukor were discovered revealing her candid thoughts on her choices. Crawford shared that throughout her life she had lived under the direction of older, powerful men in the industry, from studio heads to directors and producers. However, in her personal life, Crawford wanted to be the one in control with power and experience and sought younger partners, individuals who weren't corrupted by the social system and could see her as a real person, not a threat. As actress Donna Reed later recalled from a conversation with Crawford, she shared that men of her age had spent decades living under the dominance of younger women, and they were incapable of facing an equal woman, let alone one with greater power than themselves. Marlene Dietrich, with the delicate sensibility of a European woman, approached relationships with a natural ease that left American audiences stunned. Her romantic life included not only relationships with men but also with women. However, there was a consistent pattern in her relationships. Dietrich primarily chose younger male partners, often 10 to 15 years younger, or sometimes even more. Her most famous relationship began in 1942 when she was 40 and started a passionate affair with French actor Jean Gabin, who was just 27 at the time. This 13-year age gap caused quite a stir, especially since Dietrich made no effort to hide the relationship or her role as an already established star. This created an unavoidable public spectacle, but Dietrich still chose to live in the way that felt most freeing to her. What made this relationship particularly fascinating was how Dietrich's European upbringing influenced her perspective on age and relationships. As her daughter Maria Riva noted in her memoir, Dietrich believed that the American attitude toward older women involved with younger men was crude and provincial. In European cultures, especially within German and French cultural circles, such relationships were seen as natural, where the woman with her experience and cultural understanding was often the one to initiate the relationship with a younger man, an archetype deeply rooted in those cultures. Dietrich's letters with her longtime friend writer Ernest Hemingway, published in 2003, reveal a deliberate strategy in her choice of younger partners. Dietrich shared, "The young men in my life never knew me when I was struggling or uncertain. They met me as I am now, confident, strong, financially independent. This creates a dynamic where my achievements are simply accepted rather than seen as obstacles to overcome." What is particularly significant about Dietrich's relationships with younger partners is how they reflect her rejection of traditional gender roles in society. While many actresses maintained a traditional public image despite leading very different private lives, Dietrich's choices were a clear reflection of her desire to live freely, unconstrained by societal expectations. Dietrich openly challenged the expectations of how women, especially older women, should behave. Her preference for younger partners was just one aspect of her broader rejection of the ideas surrounding proper feminine behavior that American society imposed. As Dietrich herself wrote in a 1960 letter to her daughter, America wants its older women to disappear or at least have the grace to pair with older men. I refuse to participate in this fictional story. I have earned my position and my pleasures, and I will enjoy both with the partners I choose regardless of what society thinks is appropriate for a woman of my age. Standing out among the actresses of the Golden Age, Mae West was not only known for her career, but also for how she built her entire persona around her preference for younger men. From her early successes on Broadway to her Hollywood career, West not only pursued younger partners in her personal life, but also made this preference a central part of her public image. This was a pioneering, bold, and audacious choice for a woman born in 1893, at a time when society still held rigid norms about relationships between generations. The most significant relationship in Mae West's life began in 1954, when she was 61 years old, and she began a romance with Chester Rabinsky, later known as Paul Novak. A former Mr. California and a performer in her nightclub acts the 29-year age gap between Mae West and Paul Novak caused quite a stir in the conservative 1950s, and it continues to surprise many today. However, what makes this relationship especially remarkable is that it lasted until Mae West's death in 1980, a 26-year romance that completely defied critics who believed it was just a fleeting affair. What makes this relationship particularly captivating is how Mae West used humor to diffuse the criticisms of her preference for younger men. Instead of hiding her relationships with younger men, West incorporated this into her comedic persona, forcing her critics to rethink their judgment. She was famously known for witty one-liners like, "I like a man who's good but not too good." "For those who are good, they die young, and I hate a man who's dead. And a man with $100 and you leave him with $2, that's subtraction." These witty remarks not only reflect Mae West's sense of humor, but also helped normalize her preference for younger partners. According to her business manager and close confidant Stanley Musgrove, West had a clear philosophy regarding age in relationships. "Mae told me that she liked younger men because they hadn't been taught to fear strong women. She said that men her age had spent decades being served by submissive wives and girlfriends and couldn't handle a woman who knew exactly what she wanted and wasn't afraid to ask for it." Barbara Stanwyck, with her sharp intellect and straightforward approach to her career, brought these qualities into her personal life as well. After divorcing her older husband Frank Fay, a man struggling with alcoholism and alleged abusive behavior, Stanwyck began choosing younger partners, a pattern she maintained throughout her life. The most notable age gap relationship for Stanwyck began in 1936 when she was 29 and started dating Robert Taylor, who was then only 23. Although the age difference was just 6 years in the context of Hollywood in the 1930s, where women often married older men, their relationship sparked a great deal of gossip. What made this relationship particularly intriguing was MGM's manipulation, as the studio falsified Robert Taylor's birth date in promotional materials, making him appear 2 years older than his actual age. Barbara Stanwyck's letters to her director friend Frank Capra reveal part of her strategy in choosing younger partners. She shared, "I've seen what happens to actresses who marry older, powerful men in this town. Their careers become secondary. Their ambitions are stifled. I prefer someone who is still hungry, still building, someone who understands that my work is just as important as his." After her divorce from Robert Taylor in 1952, Stanwyck continued her relationships with younger men, though she never remarried. Her final significant relationship began in 1963 when she was 56 years old and involved her 44-year-old co-star from the Big Valley, Peter Breck. The 12-year age gap in Barbara Stanwyck's relationship with Peter Breck was publicly acknowledged, and she made no effort to hide it. even though it could have impacted her image as Victoria Bark a strong role on television. Stanwyck's relationships with younger men were not just fleeting romances. What made this relationship stand out was how Stanwyck refused to conform to Hollywood's gender expectations. According to film historian Janine Basinger, Stanwyck approached relationships with the sharp eyes of a pragmatist, rejecting the gender-based limitations placed on her. She quickly realized that younger men were more likely to respect her independence and adapt to the priorities of her career. In a 1981 interview with film critic Roger Ebert, Stanwyck shared her perspective on this topic. "I never understood why men think it's normal to choose a younger partner, but become desperate when women do the same. The simple truth is, men who haven't achieved everything they want tend to be more interesting, dynamic, and less threatened by a successful woman. The issue isn't about finding someone to control." What do you think about this viewpoint? Does the age gap in relationships really matter? If you agree with Stanwyck, leave a 1 in the comments. If you have a different opinion, comment 0. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to follow more fascinating stories. Claudette Colbert, with her elegant and refined appearance, built a flawless public image. However, her private life included some surprising choices, particularly her preference for significantly younger partners. While she maintained a public image of meticulousness, Colbert actually chose younger partners and defined her relationships on her own terms. The most significant age gap relationship for Colbert began in 1935, when she was 32 years old and married Dr. Joel Pressman, who was just 28 at the time. Although the age difference was only 4 years at that time, studio publicity departments often downplayed actresses' ages while inflating the age of younger co-stars to minimize public awareness of such age gaps. Later, Paramount's publicist Bob Thomas revealed that Colbert was actually 38 years old when she married Pressman, creating an age gap of 10 years that the studio tried to conceal. What makes this relationship particularly fascinating is how Colbert maintained her elegant and mysterious image to deflect attention from her personal choices. Her friend and fellow actress M.N.A. Loy revealed that Colbert understood that by cultivating an air of mystery, people would hesitate to question her private life. Her relationship with Pressman lasted until his death in 1968, a 33-year relationship that defied Hollywood's expectations of short-lived marriages. Colbert's granddaughter revealed in a 2014 interview that Aunt Claudette ran that household with absolute authority. Uncle Joel was outstanding in his field, but in their marriage, her career took priority. Her schedule determined their lives. In private letters to William Powell, Colbert mentioned her preference for a younger partner. "There's something liberating about being with a man who only knows me as a successful star. He never knew Claudette, who struggled, who was uncertain, who had to compromise and adapt to build her career. With Joel, I was always myself, successful, decisive, and in control of my life." Norma Shearer, who rose to the pinnacle of power at MGM, solidified her queen status through her marriage to production head Irving Thalberg. This relationship gave her unprecedented power during Hollywood's golden age. However, after Thalberg's sudden death in 1936, Shearer's romantic choices began to reveal a different side of her, a woman determined to reclaim personal happiness on her own terms, primarily through relationships with much younger men. One of her most notable age gap relationships began in 1942 when she was 40 and started an affair with 27-year-old ski instructor Martin Aruja. The 13-year age gap between Shearer and Aruja sparked many rumors within the industry, but Shearer made no effort to hide their relationship. What made this relationship particularly interesting was how, despite being the widow of a Hollywood legend like Irving Thalberg, Shearer chose a younger partner who had no ties to the film industry. Shearer wanted a partner who would see her as a woman, not as Thalberg's widow. Shearer's diaries, partially published in 2011, revealed her deliberate strategy in choosing younger partners. She wrote, "The men in this town are either power brokers seeking titles or former suitors who now find me intimidating because of my connection to Irving's legacy." Martin approached me without that baggage. He saw me as the woman I am now, not as an extension of my late husband. Shearer wrote, highlighting her deliberate choice to seek a relationship that wasn't bound by expectations or the ghosts of the past. One of the most notable aspects of Shearer's relationship with Martin Aruja was its longevity. They married in late 1942 and maintained a happy relationship until Shearer's death in 1983, lasting 41 years, a testament to the success of an age gap relationship built on shared interests and mutual respect. This relationship defied the expectations of critics, who believed it would be just a fleeting affair after Shearer's widowhood. Shearer's friend actress Helen Hayes later revealed that Shearer always linked her choice of younger partners to her desire for a different kind of relationship. Norma told me that with Irving, despite his genius and kindness, she was always Thalberg's wife first and herself second, but with Martin she could simply be Norma, not the actress, not the widow, just herself. This was what Shearer had always longed for, a relationship where she could be her true self, no longer the shadow of her late husband, but a woman free to live and love on her own terms. Joan Blondell, an actress known for her authentic and approachable on-screen presence, led a surprisingly unconventional personal life, especially in her choice of younger partners. After 2 marriages to older controlling men that ended in divorce, Blondell's romantic choices reflected a woman determined to pursue happiness on her own terms, despite Hollywood's expectations. One of her most notable age gap relationships began in 1947 when she was 41 and married producer Mike Todd, who was 31 at the time. The 10-year age difference between them sparked plenty of rumors in the industry, especially since Blondell was already a more established name when they first met. Todd, who would later marry Elizabeth Taylor, was still in the process of building his reputation as a producer at the time. Although their relationship lasted until 1950, what made it especially significant was how Blondell connected her preference for younger partners to those with working-class backgrounds and a practical outlook on life. Unlike many stars who came from wealthy families or entered Hollywood at a very young age, Blondell had worked in vaudeville since she was a child and approached relationships with a grounded and sincere perspective. As her son Norman Powell revealed in his memoir, "My mother often said that she spent her youth taking care of older men." First with her father in vaudeville and then with her first 2 husbands, Blondell grew tired of being the caregiver and preferred partners who were full of energy and optimism. This explains why Blondell was drawn to younger men full of vitality and positivity. Her romantic relationship with Mike Todd lasted until 1950, and despite the ups and downs, it reflected her determination to find happiness on her own terms. After divorcing Todd, Blondell continued to maintain relationships with younger men, but never remarried. Her final significant relationship began in 1965 when she was 59, and she became involved with a 42-year-old businessman, a 17-year age gap. Although this relationship may have impacted her career as she transitioned into different roles, Blondell never tried to hide it. What's especially notable about Blondell's romantic choices is how they reflected her honest and humble approach to life, free from concern for shallow societal judgments. Actress Betty Hutton, a friend of Blondell's, shared, "Joan never pretended to be anything other than herself. If she wanted a younger man, she would go after him. If people gossiped, she didn't care." Ruth Chatterton, a talented actress, was not only known for her successful transition from silent films to talkies, but also for her romantic choices. Her personal relationships reflected a shift from traditional marriages with older men to relationships with younger talents aligning with her intellectual curiosity and adventurous spirit. The most notable age gap relationship for Chatterton began in 1932 when she was 39 and married 29-year-old actor George Brent. The 10-year age difference between them sparked quite a bit of comment in the industry, especially since Chatterton was a bigger star when they met on the set of The Rich Are Always With Us. Brent, who would later briefly marry Bette Davis, was still building his career when he began his relationship with Chatterton. What's particularly notable here is how she sought intellectual stimulation from younger men individuals who were not influenced by her established career and achievements. Chatterton was not only an actress, but also a novelist, a licensed pilot, and a talented stage producer. According to her friend and colleague, K. Frances Chatterton was always in search of intellectual and creative stimulation. Ruth sought stimulation above all intellectually, creatively, and yes, physically. She found younger men willing to explore new ideas, embrace risks, and challenge conventions, Frances recalled. Men of her own age were often settled and easily threatened by her diverse achievements. Chatterton's marriage to Brent lasted only 3 years, but she continued her relationships with younger partners. In 1950, at the age of 57, she began a relationship with a 38-year-old British businessman, creating a 19-year age gap that she made no effort to hide. What is particularly significant about Chatterton's preference for younger men is how it reflects her progressive nature in all aspects of life. As a pioneering female pilot who participated in the 1937 Bendix Trophy air race and a talented novelist, Chatterton always embraced new challenges rather than clinging to the familiar. Tallulah Bankhead's flamboyant personality and unapologetic approach to her bisexuality made her one of the most controversial figures in Hollywood. She was famous for constantly challenging societal norms regarding relationships and gender, especially in her choice of partners. Bankhead's relationships with younger men were not just part of her love story. They were a statement of power and a rejection of traditional gender norms. Her most notable age gap relationship began in 1951 when she was 49 and began an affair with 25-year-old actor Keith Buckley in the Broadway play The Little Foxes. The 24-year age gap created a significant scandal, but Bankhead was unafraid to challenge societal expectations. According to Buckley, Bankhead often introduced him as "my beautiful son," a deliberate provocation against societal expectations of relationships between older women and younger men. What makes Bankhead's relationship with Buckley particularly fascinating is her clear rejection of gender norms. As Estelle Winwood, a friend of Bankhead's, recalled, Bankhead once said, "Darling, if men can steal her cradle, why can't I like them young, beautiful, and not too smart?" She intentionally mimicked the way powerful men spoke about young stars, highlighting the absurdity of it and challenging societal prejudices. While Bankhead's public statements were provocative, her relationship with Buckley revealed surprising depth and complexity. Buckley later revealed that behind closed doors, Bankhead was a wonderful mentor who encouraged his career and introduced him to her vast artistic and literary connections. Their relationship lasted nearly 5 years, which was considerably longer than most relationships in Hollywood at the time. Tennessee Williams, a friend of Tallulah Bankhead, revealed a specific philosophy Bankhead had about age and relationships. Bankhead once said, "She liked younger men because they hadn't been scarred by success or soured by failure. Men her age, if they had succeeded, were too arrogant, and if they hadn't, they were too bitter. Whereas younger men still had hope and enthusiasm, qualities I value above all else." This sheds light on an important aspect that few understand about the Golden Age actresses and their relationships with younger men. These relationships were not merely about physical attraction or a fear of aging, as gossip columnists often suggested. They represented a sophisticated strategy to navigate the deeply ingrained gender inequality within the Hollywood studio system. Many Golden Age actresses began their careers under the control of older men studio heads, directors, and producers who held extraordinary power over both their professional and personal lives. The preference of these actresses for younger partners was often a deliberate way to recalibrate the dynamics of their relationships after experiencing the constraints of traditional gender roles. Their relationships were not just about love, but also a strategic choice to assert personal freedom and independence in their lives. Many of these women clearly connected their choice of younger partners with the desire to find someone who knew them only at the height of their careers, when they were no longer dependent on male approval. What made these relationships special was how they allowed these women to grow both personally and professionally without compromising societal conventions. Their younger partners helped them maintain energy, creativity, and a thirst for exploration while still being admired and respected for the achievements they had already made. This created relationships where women's accomplishments could be celebrated without causing insecurity or resentment, something they often encountered with partners of the same age or older. We need to understand that success in both career and personal life is a journey, and these choices are just a part of that process. If you enjoy these untold stories about Hollywood's golden age, leave a 1 in the comments. If you find these relationships fascinating, or a 0 if you'd like to explore other aspects of the film industry. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel, and stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video as we continue to uncover the intriguing secrets behind Hollywood's glamorous facade.